Hey guys, alright? Welcome everyone. In the year 1442, 1,000 boys from Transylvania were forced to be trained for the Turkish army. One of them grew up to be feared and called Vlad, the Impaler. Haunted by his monstrous deeds, Vlad returned to Transylvania to rule in peace. By a stream near Transylvania, a Roman named Scelgium finds a discarded Turkish helmet. Vlad, the prince of Wallachia and Transylvania, notices that it is a scout's helmet, leading him to believe that the Turks intend to invade them. As the helmet was found upstream, Vlad concludes that it came from the Toothbreaker mountain, across the way. He orders his men to prepare for battle as he searches the Turkish camp for negotiations. Vlad takes 2 men to the mountain and looks for any signs of the Turks. Bats emerge from a cave, and Vlad deduces that they have been disturbed, so he enters to investigate. Inside the cave, they find old armor and crushed bones covering the floor. Something in the darkness consumes one of his men and suddenly pulls him into the shadows. Vlad and his other soldier run, but the beast in the shadows takes his soldier. Vlad strikes the beast but is thrown back. He crawls out of the cave and reaches the sunlight. The monster halts, then retreats, as its blood on Vlad's sword evaporates in the sunlight. In Dracula's castle, Vlad consults his brother Lucian about the creature. Lucian recounts the vampire's story: a man who summoned the demon for power. The demon granted his wish, but condemned him to dwell in darkness for all eternity. Vlad then visits his wife Myrina and his son Injuras. They greet him warmly, but Myrina notices that something is troubling him. In their room, Myrina asks what attacked Vlad, and he says it was wolves. He laments his men and then recounts how he was sent to war when young. He wishes never to fight again, then Myrina reminds him that he is not safe at home. The next day, their Easter banquet is interrupted when the Ottoman general Hamza Bey arrives. Vlad offers a chest of silver coins as tribute to the Sultan, but Hamza Bey accuses him of murdering his scouts. Vlad denies this and then asks him to accept the tribute and leave. However, Hamza Bey jovially announces that the Sultan demands 1,000 boys to serve in his army. The townspeople protest, but Hamza Bey continues to recruit the young for his army. When a father pleads with a Turkish soldier not to take his son, the soldier pulls out his blade to cut his hand. Then Vlad pushes the soldier against the wall. Hamza Bey reminds Vlad that he has no army and thus has no choice but to obey. He then gathers his men and departs with the tribute. Vlad's advisor, Kazan, presses him to do whatever is necessary to protect his people. That night, Vlad admits to Injuras that his father gave him as a royal hostage to prove his loyalty to the Sultan, but promises Injuras that there is nothing to worry about. Still, when alone with his wife, Vlad fears that hundreds will die if he tries to spare the boys. Myrina notes that Vlad and the Sultan were like brothers, so she advises him to ask for mercy. The next day, Vlad visits the Sultan and Mehmed II. The two drink while reminiscing about their younger days. Mehmed admits that his father was cruel but praises Vlad for adapting to his culture. He then inquires about the boys he demanded, insisting he needs the soldiers. Vlad offers to spare the boys, but Mehmed refuses. He also demands that Vlad raise Injuras, just as Vlad was raised in his palace. He assures Vlad that he will keep his throne, but Mehmed's general will oversee him. Vlad pleads that he reconsider, but Mehmed simply advises him to have more children. Soon, Vlad finds his family in a clearing to deliver his son to the Turks. Myrina reproaches her husband, reminding him of his promise to protect their children before marrying him. However, Kazan emphasizes that if they defy, they will have war. Seeing the soldiers advance, Vlad approaches them but drops his weapon to not antagonize them. Noticing his father's actions, Injuras offers to go, promising he will survive just as he did. Vlad holds his son's hands as he hands him over to Hamza Bey. Hamza Bey implies that he had hoped Vlad would resist more, making Vlad realize what he is giving up. Vlad whispers to Injuras to run back to his mother. As soon as Injuras runs, Vlad in a quick movement, takes Hamza Bey's sword and kills him, doing what any father who loves his son would do. Myrina protects her son while Vlad battles the Turkish soldiers alone. He easily slays the men but knows more will come. Kazan reprimands the prince, but Vlad insists that a child should not be sacrificed for his country. He orders his family to be protected in the castle while he heads alone to Toothbreaker Mountain. Vlad climbs the dark mountain and enters the cave. The vampire greets him, but Vlad does not see him. The vampire speaks that no one has ever returned to him, and Vlad adds that no one has ever escaped, given the countless human bones in the cave. The vampire extinguishes his torch, causing Vlad to strike at nothing with his sword. Finally, the vampire appears before him and throws the sword away. The creature observes him, sensing hope in him instead of fear. He then tells Vlad to hide a silver ring, as it offends him. Vlad shares that the Turks threaten his kingdom, so he wishes for the vampire's power to save his people and family. The vampire sarcastically dismisses him but reveals that he knows who Vlad is, calling him the son of the devil. Vlad corrects him, saying that his surname, Dracula, means the dragon, not the devil. Still, the vampire provokes him about his bloody past and then presses him against the wall. He asks what Vlad felt when impaling thousands of men, and Vlad admits he felt nothing. He justifies that he became a monster to instill fear, which satisfies the Turks and prevents them from taking more lives. The vampire wounds Vlad's neck and licks the blood. He tells Vlad that he does not know what it is to be a monster, but he will show him. The vampire recounts that the one who transformed him condemned him in the cave, but Vlad will be his salvation. The vampire bites his arm and drips blood into a skull. He instructs Vlad to drink his blood, promising him great power if he does, but his thirst for human blood will be insatiable. If he can resist drinking for 3 days, he will become mortal again. If he fails, he will fully transform, and the vampire will gain his freedom, take his revenge, and have Vlad as his pawn. Despite this, desperation forces Vlad to drink the blood. The vampire retreats as Vlad's body disintegrates. Vlad wakes in the stream and finds his skin burning with his silver ring. He removes it and tries to stand, but a stone crumbles when he grabs it, injuring his hand, but it heals instantly. He hears the small sounds of spiders and distant animals and sees the heat of every living creature in the forest. Vlad then seeks his ring back and puts it on a cord to wear as a necklace. Suddenly, he hears explosions in the distance, so he runs at full speed. He transforms into multiple bats before returning to his form. He uses this to reach the castle faster. When he arrives, he finds his kingdom under attack. He reunites with his family and addresses the frightened townspeople. He tells them that a good prince would have delivered his children to keep the peace, but he swears that he will not be defeated. Cannons break down the castle walls, but Vlad faces the army alone. The soldiers advance, and he runs toward them, showing his fangs. Vlad fights alone against the army, eliminating the soldiers with unimaginable and unstoppable strength, to protect the one he loves. He grabs their weapons and cuts down his enemies, facing hundreds of them alone. Soon, the battlefield is empty, except for Vlad and the bodies. His soldiers arrive, but find no more battle to fight. Vlad tells his men not to question what he did but to trust that he intends to keep them safe. However, he knows more armies will come, so he urges his people to move to the Koja monastery in the mountains. On the way, they set up camp, and Vlad is tempted as he sees his men eating. He retreats to the tent where Myrina awaits him. The couple kisses and begins to engage intimately, but Vlad is tempted by her blood. He pulls away and leaves. He finds Skelgium following him in the forest, but Skelgium defends that he is following the bats instead of him. He wields a knife, knowing Vlad has been transformed, but instead of attacking him, Skelgium cuts his own hand, offering blood and asking to be Vlad's servant. Vlad pushes the chalice of blood away and warns Skelgium to stay away from him. The next day, Mem arrives at the battlefield and sees the soldiers impaled on spears. Meanwhile, Myrina wakes and sees Vlad bent over. She checks on him and finds him shirtless, with a silver ring burning on his chest. Vlad wakes, and Myrina is frightened to see his battle scars gone. Vlad confesses that he has become the monster of the mountain, and to prove it, he lets the sun burn his skin. Myrina pulls him away, asking why he did that. Vlad states that he did it to save their son and promises that he will be restored in 2 days if he resists his thirst. Vlad tells Myrina to take the townspeople to the monastery while he holds Mem. Vlad waits until sunset before transforming into bats to seek the Sultan's men. However, Mem's soldiers ambush the townspeople. During the fight, one of his men, Dimitru, takes Myrina and Injuris to safety, but they get cornered. Dimitru fights against the soldier to protect them and is mortally wounded. Myrina instructs Injurus to run, but before the soldier can attack, the bats distract him. When he backs away near the cliff, Vlad appears in his beastly form, and the soldier falls. Dimitru crawls in fear at the sight of him, but Vlad comforts him until he passes away. Dimitru's blood tempts Vlad, but he resists upon hearing his son's cries. Eventually, the townspeople reach the monastery. Upon arrival, Kazan reprimands Vlad for leaving, but Vlad silences him and fervently tells his people to stop praying, as it will not protect them. Instead, he prepares them for battle. Meanwhile, Mehmed hears rumors that Vlad has become a monster, but he is confident he can defeat him and soon marches his army to the monastery. In the monastery, Lucian notices Vlad avoiding the sunlight and, knowing what he has become, follows him to the forge and wields a silver sword. Lucian offers to kill Vlad so he can repent, but Vlad refuses. Lucian cuts the tent, showing the people how the sunlight burns his skin. The people scream in fear as their prince hides in the shadows. They then cry for his death while Myrina pleads for them to spare him. The soldiers burn the tent while he is inside, and Myrina and Injurus are dragged away from the scene. A growl from inside silences the crowd. Myrina takes Injurus inside as she faces her husband, who emerges from the flames of the tent. Vlad scolds them for their disloyalty, reminding them that they survived because of his sacrifice. Myrina calms him, then Vlad orders his people to prepare for battle before storming out angrily. Vlad goes to the church to pray for strength to resist becoming a monster. Injurus enters and offers him bread to make him feel better. Vlad shares the bread with his son and declares that he would be a great leader because he cares for others. Injurus reminds that Vlad stopped the Turks from taking him and believes that is why he transformed. Vlad admits this and assures that he would do it again if necessary. At night, Vlad sees the army from afar. He worries about not finishing the war before dawn when he will lose his power. Then Myrina promises to fight by his side until the end. She assures him that they did what they could to protect the children of the kingdom. She reminds him of their wedding vows, a poem about transcendent love through time and life. The couple shares comfort in each other's arms as their enemy approaches. Soon, the Ottoman army arrives. Vlad notices bats flying toward the tower and discovers he can control them. Thousands of bats gather in the monastery at his command, and when he sees Mehmed among the army, he sends the bats to attack. The bats collide against the soldiers, knocking them down and biting them. He then gathers the bats and strikes them against the soldiers. Mehmed is thrown off his horse as Vlad reaches the battlefield. However, when he moves to attack, he realizes that an impostor is wearing the Sultan's armor. Behind Vlad, soldiers from a small group infiltrate the monastery, using the frontline army as a distraction. 3 soldiers reach Myrina's chamber, and she and Injurus flee. They climb to the tower, only to face Mehmed's men, while Vlad finds Mehmed wearing a soldier's armor. A soldier punches Myrina, causing her to slip toward the precipice. Hearing her scream, Vlad transforms into bats and rushes toward her. The Turks take Injurus while Myrina clings on. Vlad pushes the last soldier off the tower, but Myrina falls. Vlad jumps desperately, trying to reach her. Mehmed takes Injurus on his horse as the boy watches his mother fall before Vlad can catch her. Vlad embraces Myrina as she opens her eyes and sees the sun rising. Knowing that Vlad's powers will soon fade, Myrina tells him to drink her blood to become a full vampire and save their son. Vlad refuses to take her life, but Myrina knows she is dying and only wishes to save her son. She pleads for him to drink her blood, and Vlad weeps as he endures his fangs. He drinks Myrina's blood, transforming into a full vampire while releasing the one who transformed him. When Vlad returns to the monastery, he finds a living soldier. He forces the man to drink his blood to transform. Vlad sees a few more survivors and recovers his dragon armor from when he was the impaler. While burying his wife, Vlad swears to save his son. At the Ottoman army camp, a lightning storm approaches. Vlad arrives with a small army of vampires, taking revenge against the army. The vampire, Kazan, captures Mehmed's general and drinks his blood. Mehmed's killer finds Vlad, but Vlad ties him to a mast where a vampiric woman feeds on him. Vlad heads to the Sultan's tent and confronts Mehmed, who stands atop silver coins and possesses a silver sword. Injurus, bound, watches as his father and the Sultan fight. Due to the silver, Vlad struggles and is knocked to the ground, which burns his skin. Mehmed taunts him as Vlad weakens in the fight. Mehmed opens more bags of silver to pour onto Vlad. This allows him to restrain the vampire and beat him. Injurus struggles against his chains, pleading for his father's life. The furious Sultan grabs a broken piece of wood to stab Vlad in the heart, but he manages to block the blow. He then transforms into bats and quickly reformulates. He stabs Mehmed and declares that he is now Dracula, the son of the devil. He then kills the Sultan by biting his neck. Vlad takes his son outside, where his vampire army gathers. Kazan is pleased with his new power and reports that there are no more humans, except for Injurus. Suddenly, the vampires surround them as Kazan suggests that Vlad's son is just a distraction. Kazan moves to attack Injurus, but Vlad stabs him. Kazan disintegrates before them, and Vlad protects his son from the others. Suddenly, Lucian arrives, holding a sacred cross that the vampires fear. He begs Vlad to give him the child, knowing that the monk can protect him. Vlad tells Injurus to leave. He expresses his love for his son in tears before pushing him into the monk's arms. Lucian steps back as Injurus continues to cry for his father, accepting his fate. Vlad looks to the skies as the clouds part, pouring sunlight over the vampires. The vampires burn, and Vlad screams as he perishes. Soon, Injurus is crowned the new prince of Wallachia, but he laments that his father will not be seen as the hero he was. Unbeknownst to him, Skelgium found Vlad's body at the Ottoman camp and offered his blood to him, reviving the vampire. Centuries pass, and Vlad walks in modern London, where he spots a woman resembling Myrina. He calls her attention by reciting the poem from their wedding vows. The woman says it is her favorite poem and introduces herself as Mina, and they quickly decide to grab coffee nearby. While there, the vampire who transformed Vlad is watching the couple flirt, then decides to follow, plotting something, for as he said centuries ago, Vlad is now his pawn.